imp of the perverse. And the imp of the perverse is this idea that sometimes, you know, when you suddenly get a thought and it scares you and it's like, that's not the kind of thought I normally have. And you kind of get really worried about it and you think, oh my God, what kind of human being am I? And so I would talk, the example I used to give was I would talk about the fact that sometimes you might be holding a baby. It might be your baby, it might be someone else's baby, and you're just holding the baby. And perhaps you're standing at the top of some stairs or near an open window or in close proximity to a cliff. And out of nowhere, you suddenly imagine throwing the baby over the cliff. And you go, oh my God, I just imagined throwing the baby over the cliff. I never knew that, but I must be the kind of person who wants to throw babies over the cliffs. Polly, would you like to take Jack back? Yes, just my arms are getting a little bit tired. I didn't just imagine throwing him over that cliff. You'd like him back now, fair enough, here's your baby, right? And I would ask the audience, I would say, who here has had that thought? And in some rooms, a few hands would go up. In some rooms, many hands would go up. In some rooms, no hands would go up. If, say, 3 hands would go up, I'd say, that's interesting. That's interesting you say that. That person there, you put your hand up. Very, very interesting. Now, what everyone else here in this room needs to know about that person sat there is that they are the safest pair of hands when it comes to holding a baby. Because actually what's going on when you're holding the baby is it's not a desire to throw the baby over the cliff. Your brain creates a public information film. And that public information film goes, remember, you're holding a baby. So when holding a baby, don't throw it over a cliff. Good night and sleep well. But it gets translated by your brain because it's delivered so fast as if it might be an impulse. And so you become petrified. And that can end up being obsessive-compulsive behaviour, obsessive-compulsive disorders. And I talk about lots of different versions of that. I would talk about a man who told me a story once about the fact that he read this, he was walking behind a dog one day, right? And he was walking behind the dog and he suddenly just got this image of him as he saw the dog's bottom going, oh my God, imagine if I suddenly just fell into that dog and started having sex with it. Oh, and now he couldn't get rid of that idea. Every time he went for a walk, if he saw a dog, he'd have to take another path. So it's like, even though he knew he didn't really want to have sex with dogs, no, he didn't. And I said, the thing is, that's the first thought you have. If your first thought was, oh, now that is some chihuahua, then... But your first thought isn't. Your first thought is shock and horror. Sometimes you're standing on a train station platform, right? And there's someone else in front of you, and they've got an annoying ringtone or something like that. Or maybe they haven't done anything at all. But you just suddenly think, oh my God, there's a freight train coming. What if I just shoved him in front of the train? No one would know. You know, that's all of those thoughts are impulsive thoughts. And after that, I would get people coming up to me and saying, oh my God, if I had it 2 days ago, I hadn't talked about it in fact, I didn't talk about it. Someone came up and said, I read your book. I had never realised. I genuinely had these moments where I didn't want to hold people's babies because I thought, so there was this thing where suddenly there was use in what was actually this very lengthy routine, which would go in many, many different directions. But people would say, like a guy came up to me, he was about 21 years old. He said, I'm really glad you said that. He said, my sister has had a baby recently, and I've found excuses not to hold the baby because I started to have that vision. And so suddenly there was this relief from when I first said that routine, I was like, Jesus Christ. What if it turns out everyone goes, no one has ever had that thought apart from you? You must now go to the local bedlam where you will remain.